StoryCon presents BackStory, a podcast featuring writers, readers, and their stories, hosted by best-selling author Jennifer A. Nielsen.
Some writers were made in the womb, taking their first breath into the world and pausing only long enough to complete their debut novel. Many writers will talk about their early love of books, how they grew up on a steady diet of Dr. Seuss or Harry Potter or Anne of Avonlea. Not Tricia. Despite having a mother who loved to read and who had a house full of books, despite having great teachers with engaging books available in their classrooms, despite having a bright and curious mind, Tricia hated reading. No, not hated. She loathed it. And why shouldn't she? Everything she was forced to read in school had all become lumped into one awful story told over and over again, some story about a boy and his dog who dies. That's what books were, as far as Tricia was concerned. They were depressing stories that were supposed to make you cry, and why would she care about that? Especially when Tricia's life was already pretty rough. The last thing she needed were stories that made things even worse. Then one day, late in her junior high year, a scholastic book fair came to her school. Not just any book fair, no, this was a special one. At this book fair, every student could get one book for free, any book they wanted. Tricia grumbled, irritated at the thought of having yet another book forced on her. But it was free, and they probably wouldn't let her leave the room until she chose one, so she began very reluctantly walking around, examining the options, carefully avoiding anything with a dog on the cover. Then at last, there it was. A cover that looked different from the others. A cover that didn't look sad and depressing. It didn't have a dog, but there was a horse. One that looked valiant and brave. Beside it was a girl who looked fierce and strong. In one hand she held a sword, and a castle stood behind her, off in the distance. Tricia stared at the cover for a very long time, slightly intrigued, greatly suspicious. This couldn't really be a story about a girl and a sword, because those stories didn't exist. What was the catch? Before she had resolved her suspicions, Tricia picked up the book, Alana by Tamora Pierce. It was free, and she had to choose something, so why not? She took the book home, with every intention of reading until the real story emerged, the depressing one. But that wasn't what happened. Instead, the book was exciting and fun and captured Tricia's imagination in a way that nothing before ever had. This was reading? It had magic and romance and adventure, and it was about a girl, a character that was like her, and a character Tricia wanted to be more like. She returned to the library, eager to find more girl adventure books, and there they were. Other stories that seemed to have been written just for her. Those books taught Tricia how to be brave, not to just do as she was told. More importantly, they gave her a love of story and the idea that one day, maybe, she could create stories of her own. Tricia Levenseller went on to create those stories, to write adventures of girls with swords who were fierce and strong. Books like Daughter of a Pirate King, The Shadows Between Us, and her first novel for adults, What Fury Brings. She writes for the woman she is and for the girl she was, a girl whose entire world opened up with the discovery of one single book written just for her.
Thank you for listening to BackStory. If you'd like to enjoy more episodes, visit us at storycon.org/backstory. That's StoryCon.org/backstory.